What? Get your big butt out of here.
Welcome into the Fantasy Guides podcast. My name is Andrew Teuscher, and I am joined today by the owner, the operator of Fantasy Guides, and he currently has his mic muted, and I'm sure he doesn't know it, Steve Rippey, as well as Jacob Rhodes, Fantasy Guides contributor, and the owner and operator of Rookie Devy Watch, Devy Rookie Watch, Watch Rookie Devies. He watches college football, and I think his account is named Devy Rookie Watch. Jesse, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Andrew?
I nailed your intro, and
You got them all.
If
If you hit it all, yeah, one of those was right.
If you type in some combo of those words and letters, you will get close. Steven, now that your mic works, how you feeling?
You're right. I did have it muted, and I would have forgotten. So thank you. I just want to point out Jesse's more than good. Jesse is great. They're talking about the new college football game constantly on social media. Jesse keeps sending us screenshots of the stuff that he keeps seeing.
Yay!
My favorite is the one where the guy tweeted something where he's like, I'm so nervous about the first play. I think I might just do a halfback dive to get the jitters out.
I know for a fact that Jesse's going to put more thought into what play to run first and which team to pick than he ever did for like a kid's name or like a proposal idea.
Oh man,
this is your thing.
See, absolutely. I know I played enough with Jesse. I don't think halfback dive is called very often when Jesse's playing. There's a lot of read option, and I think he's going 5 wide or 4 wide, doing a lot of trick stuff. He's a mad genius on that game.
No, I did love Jacob pointed out. I saw the same post you did, Jacob, where there was another guy that said they were going to line up in just like a victory formation and then just let the clock run out and take a delay a game just as like an homage
tribute to the last 10 years.
I think that's great. I would love to see it.
Isn't that funny? I was like, oh my God, I love the amount of interest and everything else is pretty awesome. The only thing I'll say is those guys on Reddit. I know the guys that were still doing it, on NCAA 14 the last like 10 years.
Oh yeah,
the real guys that have
people didn't stop.
Some of those crazy Reddit guys that I was balling out with. So they got to be going out of their skulls right now.
Those people. Well, next episode, whenever they launch, we'll do an episode. We got to pour a few out for them.
Yeah,
for sure. Because they need to be represented.
When does it come out again? It's like July
18th, I think.
Oh, I'm so excited. Can we
get
it
pre-ordered already?
Oh, and you guys see, like they're luring me in. I thought about it. Like they are offering a package where if you pay $150, you get both the Madden like deluxe edition and the NCAA deluxe edition, and that sounds like a lot of money. But they're $70 now, so you pay $5 extra. You get it 3 days early each one. Mm-hmm. And I thought about getting one, but it's like Lay's. You can't have just one.
Yeah. And the only other thing I want to bring up on the pod is we do need to start a GoFundMe page for Casey. There's no chance that his wife Alicia will ever let him have a new console. So it's Steven, can we work on that?
Yeah, because what did he picked Xbox however many years ago, whatever Xbox he had. So he's locked into that for, it's got to be at least another 3 years, right? That he's locked into the Xbox contract before he can spend more money on a console.
There's no chance. So I was just like, hey, if it's like $700, come on, Casey.
I think we could raise. I think we could raise that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get the donations out there. We'll get out in front of the Walmarts, ring our bell with our red bucket with Santa hats on. We'll get this done.
It takes a village, Andrew.
That's
Christmas in July. It takes a village to raise a Casey. And just to get more content like this, incredible stuff, make sure that you subscribe, follow, like, share, let others hear about this nonsense on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're listening on, as well as go and support the page and have yourself a blast. Go out and play some Underdog. Use our promo code GUIDES, GUIDES. You'll get a free draft guide, a draft guide subscription, and a deposit bonus. Go out and get it. It's awesome. It's free. Why not? And then compete while you're waiting for NCAA to come out, because you still got like 2 months, if I can count right. So go out there, get yourself on Underdog, have yourself a fun time, and take in this news we're about to give you, because it's going to impact some Underdog rankings. Well, you guys tell me actually if this one's impacting it, and I'll just umbrella statement this news as we are in prime training camp height video season. Have you
So
guys seen
annoyed.
some good-looking guys in shorts running some routes, jumping? My favorites have been so far the ones where this guy went up to get it, and they
Yes.
don't. They got like 3 inches off the ground and just kind of tucked their legs for no reason. I saw a Kyle Pitts one.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
saw that exact one, and I
You
did
see
the
the-
same thing. Like, what are we doing here?
You see the caption before you see the video, so you watch the whole video thinking like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome," and then just a routine catch right over the middle of the field
Yep.
with no one guarding him.
Exactly that.
I love Pro Football Focus, but I think they're one of the worst at this, where they will show, I mean, in shorts, Aaron Rodgers rolling out, throwing it to Garrett Wilson, he probably threw the ball 12 yards in the air, caught a slant route, and then it's like this connection, and then the big eyes emoji.
Yeah.
Stop.
Well,
Like,
the one that's got the most is getting the most hype out of training camp, and it got its own like sleeper notification. So I thought I'd bring it up. Quentin Johnston, and I thought we were better than this out here, fantasy folk. The GM came out and said, "quote He is ready to launch," and it's Jim Harbaugh, so it's all the good vibes, all the good feels, and frankly, they don't have much out there. Jesse, I'll start with you. Is Quentin Johnston ready to launch? Have we primed that rocket, or is that rocket already crashed?
You got to be careful. You never know. These sophomore things can happen. And he was a very high pick, and there were people that were very high on him. Casey pointed out, I got to give him credit that the guy was just very raw and had some, body catching stuff and some weird route issues and kind of a funky offense that he played in with TCU. And so it is possible. I have not buried the guy. I think it is totally possible for him to rebound. But it's almost all fake news for me right now. Everything that I hear, it doesn't matter if it's, Kyle Pitts jumping 4 inches off the ground or whatever. Like, it's all kind of fake news until you start seeing, preseason games and start seeing these guys on the field making big plays.
yeah,
Steven or Jacob, are you taking the bait here?
No.
Very simply put.
what I love is, like, I saw Faraz post. I've seen a few people post this, basically like launch into what exactly,
Exactly.
and then they show the Mount Harmon route tree from Reception Perception, where it shows all red, except the flat route, like the flanker route, just a little out in the flats. I'm like, yeah. So
No.
I don't. The fact that the thing is, you could say that the target competition is not great, but we're all very high in Lad McConkey, so I think it is good. Like, I think Lad could take over that offense. But to Jesse's point, give him one. Let's give this guy a chance. Like, if you have him on your roster, just sit back and wait.
Yeah, may as well. You're not getting anything for him if you try to trade him or something.
I did actually, Andrew, just draft him pretty late in Underdog. I've been close to 20 drafts right now, so the alerts keep coming. I get one every hour and a half or so.
Did you use promo code guides whenever you enter that GUIDES guides? Good deposit match in the description. Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
good, attaboy.
That way my account doesn't log me out. Keeps it updated. But I did take him because I was looking through my roster and I had taken Justin Herbert, and I was like, oh, there's a stack, So I just took it for this like desperation what if stack, that a lot of people probably aren't trying to get the Quentin Johnston, Justin Herbert stack. So I'll have a unique lineup there.
I got a podcast idea for you, Andrew. I know you're always looking for them.
Always.
Somebody explain to Jesse how a stack makes any difference at all. I don't. You guys talk about it all the time, and it's like this. Right,
well, we'll get more into it, Jesse. But if you just think of it this way, if you have an offense go off, especially like when you're doing best ball like tournaments, you have to have a pretty unique lineup, and you essentially want if you make it to the finals, you want your roster to like explode. You want to have this like amazing week 17. That's how you win. So if you've got Justin Herbert having a monster game and Quentin Johnston happens to have a monster game, that's going to push you over the top. So trying to get these stacks, like Mike Evans a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, he had like a 50-point week 17 with Tom Brady. A lot of people who had that stack, Tom Brady and Mike Evans, won a lot of money. So
it's like 80 points right there from two players.
The best way I ever heard it described is just to briefly describe and then move on is you're making bets. Every single player you draft is a bet. And the more players you consolidate into one offense, especially for weekly stuff, that's basically like taking, if I have 2 players in 2 offenses, now if I stack, it's like I'm taking 1 bet. Like it's just less betting you have to. If you hit once, you're good instead of hitting twice. Or just like pancakes. Like think you want to eat pancakes, but it's really annoying to eat just 1 pancake at a time. So you stack them together, and then the syrup like runs off, and it looks really cool visually.
Got it.
Pancakes.
That part helped. That part helped the most. I'm a visual guy, art teacher. You got to remember. So the actual pancake stacking. Now I'm in.
That like the butter runs off. I summoned my inner Casey for that one. Moving us on. Look, Steven, I'm going to you here. You're the local Chiefs investor. Rashee Rice. Tons of stuff happening this offseason. And we had the car stuff, and that's still in play very much so. And even before the second thing came out, like people were saying maybe half the season gone. But now he had this thing come out where he may have hit a photographer at a Dallas club. But now it looks like those assault charges are being dropped, not saying he did it or didn't do it. There might have been some money handed under the table. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But Steve, does this alleviate some stuff for you with the Rashee Rice situation?
You know, when that happened on our little text chain, Jacob Rhodes over there, I remember texted, he's done. He's done. Like,
game over, man.
Like
game over.
And I almost responded back like, chill. Like,
no,
just relax.
There's no chill with this chain of events that he's going through.
But
right
I had to acknowledge there was a chain of events. But I did want to say, can we just let the facts come out? Is kind of what I was alluding to. The fact that this is dropped, I don't think the NFL will even consider it as part of like what's going on with the punishment, because there's no crime so far. Like there's no footage of this. There's no police report.
Lessens the punishment he's going to get this year.
Well, with
so he's still going to get a punishment.
The Kamara stuff got dropped, if I'm not incorrect. But like you said, if there's video, if they have to deal with it, then they're going to do something.
Yeah, and I think the Kamara thing too. Like the guy was like hospitalized. Like it was pretty serious. Like I thought I remember hearing like potential brain damage with that guy. So it was quite a bit different. It was pretty violent. This one seems like maybe he could have just slapped the guy. Who knows? Like there was an incident with Tyreek Hill did that to a guy that was managing a boat rental place or like something, and like nothing ever happened with that. So
that dude got paid.
He could have, and I don't think Rashee Rice has Tyreek Hill money, so I don't know how much of a payment he was able to make.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
But yeah, that's what I was about to say the same thing. But no, he's still going to get suspended. There's going to be some sort of
stuff
suspension.
still happened,
but I think it's going to be. I would bet on 6 games if I was saying what I think is going to happen with Rice. I'm thinking a 6-game suspension. It could be less though, but that's kind of where I'm feeling with everything that's happened.
I think at most it's half the season.
Yeah, and underdog ADP is reflecting that. I was just talking to Jacob. He's a wide receiver 47 right now. That is presenting some value. Certainly, there's other stuff up in the air with competition, but could be a value now.
He's a guy I just took him also in an underdog draft because I had Mahomes and I saw him. Now, here's the thing: you could tell me if it was a mistake or not. I thought DeAndre Hopkins was available, but I had Mahomes, and I just went. I don't have a single Rashee Rice draft, any drafts with him. And I just thought into the season, maybe they could catch fire. So I took him over Hopkins. I don't know if that was the right move or not, but I was kind of shooting for ceiling.
Wide receiver 47, can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Now, Jacob, you get to take this one. And I was so happy to grill you with it. I'm unhappy that it happened, but Mr. Kyren Williams, Notre Dame product, and I get to talk to Notre Dame fan Jacob Rhodes about it. Jacob has a special connection with Kyren, but it turns out that Kyren right now is dealing with quote-unquote a foot issue. And as early as we are, that could mean absolutely nothing. We never hear about this again, and this was all a waste of time. This also happens when it's something actually a little bit bigger than we think, and it leads to a guy like Blake Corum maybe getting a little bit more action. Jacob, what are you thinking about this Kyren Williams stuff? Are you nervous as a Dynasty owner yourself?
No, it sounds like he gets to rest all offseason and he'll be 100% going into the season. So I'm cool with it. Sounds like a nice chill offseason for Kyren Williams.
Just like Rashee Rice.
Also, he made the prudent move of taking Blake Corum in the rookie draft.
When Jacob says he's not worried about Kyren Williams, he traded me to get into the second round so he could draft Blake Corum. So
I hedge my bets.
No,
that was
I think
good.
it was a good move. I think it's good to have both those guys. But God,
I
if
don't.
I just had Kyron, I'd be nervous.
I don't think it's anything serious. I think it would have been reported more so if it was serious, but it's the off season. Any news is going to be big news. So we're just
I'm not worried about it.
Wave through it and be patient.
It's something to watch. This is more of like a thing in baseball. I'm an avid baseball follower. This is like spring training. The guys just showed up, and so they're seeing them medically for the first time. Like Kyron might have been on his Razor scooter doing some sick kick flips, and like he cracked his foot with the Razor. Have you guys ever done that? Like you whip around the scooter and it hits you in the ankle. You ever done like the Razor scooter? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and
like,
right in the shin.
Yeah.
Maybe he did that and he broke his shin bone, and he comes in. He's like, I got a little bit of a boo boo. We're fine, and that's the first time the doctors get to see him as at OTAs. So this could be more, but like Jacob said, it really could be nothing. It is absolutely something to monitor, though. A last point of news that I was not prepared to talk about. So which one of you brought? I think Jacob brought this up, so I'll let you start again. Apparently Lamar Jackson got skinnier. I guess he is trying to go become a male model somewhere because he was already kind of skinny. I put on here, maybe he's trying to become a human bookmark. Like this was not a thick guy. And now he's lost weight 2 off seasons in a row. Like he's going to take some hits. Jacob, you worried about this?
No, so he's down to 205 pounds, which is kind of small considering the way he plays, but it's 25 pounds less than he was 2 years ago. And he played at 215 last year. So another 10 pounds dropped this offseason. And he's doing it intentionally to get faster. And I thought he was already pretty fast. I think durability is more of a concern now as he potentially starts to slow down as he gets older. But he's kind of going the other direction with it. And if he keeps avoiding hits the way he is, he's fine. But it does worry me a little bit about durability.
I guess so. And he was good last year. Like he was injury plugged for a while, and last year he wasn't. So maybe there is something to this.
I gotta think that he knows what he's doing. Like if he was worried, for some reason he could be looking at it like this. If I'm 25 pounds heavier, maybe I can absorb a hit better. But if I'm 25 pounds lighter, maybe I can avoid those hits potentially. Not get caught from behind, maybe get out of bounds before I take that hit. So if he's going to be faster, I think I lean towards faster Lamar being better than thicker Lamar.
Yep. Something Christian McCaffrey actually talked about with his injuries was he was doing the wrong kind of training. He was working out like a normal human being would. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, normal human being workouts, but then he abandoned that because he said like it was making him strong, but it wasn't the right kind of strength. So maybe it's one of those, like he took up Pilates, like stuff like that, like more flexible. So hopefully it's something like that. It would make a lot of sense for him. However, moving off the news with nothing else to discuss there, we got a big segment here for today. We've had the thing on the screen if you're watching on YouTube for a while here now. We are on a journey, gentlemen. Jesse brought this up last week, and it's absolutely a great exercise. I love doing these all year. We are looking to find guys from past seasons, lessons we've learned, like profiles that stood out as like, wow, tore up the league, really surprised a lot of people. And we want to project those forward. What have we learned from last year? And one guy who stood out a lot was Nico Collins as a rose out of nowhere. He was being drafted somewhere around the wide receiver 65 in Underdog last year before he came out and was a wide receiver 1. And a lot went into that. And so today we're going to try to find the next Nico as Jesse. Was it Jesse who coined it? Someone coined it cleverly last time.
I thought it was you, Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew, give yourself some credit here.
Well, obviously I was just trying to set myself up. I really didn't. The next Nico is what we're looking for here.
This is like one of those things where you say like a movie title before coming up with the movie, but it's so good we had to come up with like a segment for this because the next Nico sounded so good.
Absolutely. And there's going to be many more of these because it really is so applicable. And I love doing these every offseason.
Like Let James Cook. Remember that one?
Yes.
I should have copyrighted and bookmarked.
You had trademarked it. Yep.
I should have been a millionaire.
Now, I will say, Andrew, I might be stifling your career. You were saying Let James Cook, and I just kept saying, quit saying that. I kept telling
this
you
time last year, I was saying Let James Cook, and you banished me from the group chat.
You'd probably be on ESPN right now, like sitting with Matthew Berry if it weren't for me.
That would be problematic. The world does not need more of my voice in it. Hide me on this smaller podcast. But it's going to be a great one because we're going to come up with these guys. And the only stipulation I gave these gentlemen was that it had to be a player. You had to pick the next Nico, and it had to be a player currently being drafted outside the top 36. And that again, Nico was going 65, I believe, wide receiver 65 going into last season. This doesn't even sniff that. But basically, we're saying it is a guy who is not even like in starting lineups usually, unless you're in 3 wide receiver, and barely even then. And like these are some nobodies that we're not expecting to have huge seasons. I've got some parameters I'm going to talk about that I was looking for in the next Nico, more specifically in a little bit. But the first next Nico we have, because it was Jesse's idea, we're going to start with him. He picked Cortland Sutton as his next Nico. What are you seeing here, Jesse? Little Broncos fandom here, or are you really thinking the next Nico?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a homer pick, I think. But my big thing with Cortland Sutton is he actually finished decent last year, like kind of quietly had, finished 4th in touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and finished 15th in contested catch rate. So, those are, and he's going past your mark, not too far past your mark. I don't know what he is on Underdog, but he was just outside of those 36, I think. But who else is getting targeted in Denver? Who?
Troy Franklin.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't really know. And I think that is, I just remember being late in drafts. I remember doing some Yahoo mock drafts before the season for all my redraft leagues and going like, who are the receivers in Houston? There was really not a whole lot of people there. I was like, they're going to have an easier schedule. They're going to be throwing the ball. They'll be behind. I was like, I think Nico's decent. Like he could be their guy there. And they had some other players come on actually, and he still had a great season. So I think Cortland Sutton, it's just a situation where he's the alpha there, and he's going, like you said, he's basically like a bench alpha. And so I think that's kind of what I'm looking for during this exercise, is I filled up my starting wide receivers at the top of this. And then it's like, I really think that those bench wide receivers make a huge difference. I did have to throw in just an honorable mention though, for Deontay Johnson, because I think he's even more similar to the Nico Collins situation, where he's on what we're looking at right now is a bad team. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL next year, like who they play. And I think he's a better weapon than Bryce Young has had so far. And I think those are kind of what you're looking for. It's like these lower end guys that have the opportunity to be their number one targeted wide receiver. And I think I think you guys, I can see where we're going to, and I loved all these players, to be honest. This is my favorite tier of wide receivers to evaluate, because you're talking about relatively low risk, but they can be a league winner. If you pick up a guy like Nico Collins, and he was just one that I identified early in the process, and I play in 1 dynasty league and 3 redraft leagues. I took him in all 3 redraft leagues, and it paid off. Like, that's one of those picks that helps a lot.
Yeah. For the most part, these are cheap wide receiver ones that are going to lead their team in targets, and there's value there.
That's a good point. They are the lead wide receiver on their team. I don't, Underdog does do exposure when you've done your drafts to see how many of these players you've drafted and like what percentage of your drafts. Unfortunately, they don't do it until you finish all your drafts. So like I've got at least 15 drafts that are ongoing right now. So my exposure isn't calculated yet, but I'm curious to see where Deontay Johnson lands for me, because I find myself pushing draft on him almost every time I get in that range. He just seems too easy. And especially paired with a quarterback like Bryce Young, who maybe isn't the type of quarterback that can take the top off the defense with the deep ball, but Deontay's not that receiver either. I feel like the two kind of mesh well.
Yeah, I think so too.
With Sutton, I want to ask you guys something. He had 10 touchdowns. How many receptions do you think he had?
65.
He had 59 receptions.
59? That's it?
And still notched 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, but when I see those touchdown catches,
they were crazy.
Those count for like 10 catches to me.
Yeah.
He dropped a few too. His drops, he was 71st in drops. So, I think that there's some missed targets there, and Jerry Jeudy's gone, and everybody's ready to bury Jerry Jeudy, like that he just sucked or something, but he didn't. He's a good player, and I think taking him out of there, Sutton has to kind of take on a bigger role, and Bo Nix has been getting rave reviews for his accuracy. I think he's going to put it on that outside shoulder for him a lot. He's going to give him that fade ball. constantly. And I just that they're Deontay and Cortland are right next to each other in drafts. So those are two that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, hats off to you guys. You guys did a great job of picking later, like as close to this Nico as possible. I said wide receiver 36. Y'all said nah. Hold my beers. And Cortland Sutton went wide receiver 50, right now. Deontay Johnson, wide receiver 45, is your honorable mention. And this next guy we're gonna mention, Joshua Palmer, is going as, I just threw it on the show sheet, wide receiver 58. Like, we're getting really in Nico range, you sickos. Yeah. Jacob, why do you have Joshua Palmer as your next Nico? What are you seeing here?
The parallels here are kind of crazy, so I'll get into it in a little bit. But we got a new coach heading into the year. Nico had a new coach heading into next year, or this past year. He had a new offensive coordinator heading into this past year, a West Coast style guy, Bobby Slowick, who focused a little bit more on the run. And Greg Roman is West Coast style with more of a focus on the run. Both backfields are ambiguous, and I could see a similar pattern of where Slowick slowly started to realize, hey, I've got a quarterback that can really throw the ball. Maybe I won't lean on the run as much. I can start passing the ball more. And that's when we started seeing the receivers in Houston start to eat a little bit. I think Greg Roman's going to see that same sort of thing in LA with Justin Herbert, who's not a Lamar Jackson style runner. He's a guy that can really pass the ball. And that backfield's kind of gross. I don't think it's going to be as reliable as Greg Roman wants it to be. And Herbert is an elite quarterback. So he's going into year 4. It's not year 3 like Nico, but his first 2 years were just as rough as Nico's were. So we'd be looking at the 4th year breakout. He didn't have a lot of double-digit fantasy games those first couple years. Neither did Nico. They got a flashy new rookie coming in. That's what Houston had with Tank Dell, but Ladd McConkey's projected to be playing that kind of slot role, kind of like Tank was last year. So Joshua Palmer can be the number 1 X on the outside. He's competing with Quentin Johnston, which feels kind of like Noah Brown right now. Maybe he's got a better ceiling than that, but just more parallels. The parallels are fun here. And then there was one other fun little parallel. These guys both ran 4.5 40s. So, and they're very similar in weight.
So you went deep.
Yeah.
You did like 40 times. Like you got your stopwatch out and everything.
Yeah.
I dig it. I saw a cool post on Instagram. Well, I thought it was cool. I don't know what they were actually going for, but as a fantasy manager, I took a screenshot of it. They said the 5 worst wide receiver ones in the league. Yeah. And so they were listing off the 5, and I'm going, this is great. I'm targeting every single one of these guys because they're super cheap. And Joshua Palmer was on there. And I don't know. I think it's a savvy move. I think that he could totally be the guy. He's funny because after there were times where there would be an injury to one of those other bigger receivers for them, and he would come in and dominate. Like he has some skills. So we'll see what happens.
You know, did you already mention that, Jacob, that they were both 3rd round picks?
Yes. Yeah, I think I did. If not, I meant to.
It's funny. I thought that Nico was actually drafted ahead of Palmer, but he wasn't. He was actually drafted after him. So actually surprised by that. And Andrew, your graphic, I love the graphic here. I just realized, is that Nico looking in the mirror?
Yeah, it's a mirror. It is, dude. That's dope. He did.
We're killing. I made these as fast as possible. I was so tired today. Story time. I had to fight my toilet today, like such a struggle on it. And no, it wasn't what you're thinking, but I had to, so I own a house.
I've hugged my toilet before. I don't know if I've ever fought it, but I've definitely hugged it.
I was strangling my toilet, man, and it was a struggle. And I'm a first-year homeowner, and I am so bad at fixing anything. It's to the point that we have a toolkit. My wife, thank goodness, is amazing at fixing everything. Our toolkit is pink. Like, it is a pink tool bag because she needs everyone to know it's not mine. And so our handle broke on the toilet. Like what I've learned is a Mansfield connection to the thing that lifts the toilet and drains it. And just the Mansfield, it just means there's a stick. Because, okay, you look in your toilet and you're either going to see a stick that connects to this little thingy that goes up, or you're going to see a stick that connects to a chain that pulls the thingy up. And these are technical terms, thingy. And I had the stick one and the stick thing fell off. So I had to go get a new stick, but the stick was made out of brass. And because of the way it works and the things fitting, you got to like bend the brass, but like I couldn't figure out how to do it. It was like a puzzle. And so I was sitting there strangling this thing all around my toilet, and I was dead. And I was so tired from strangling my toilet that when I made these, I went really quick. So I'm shocked it actually looks.
Would have never guessed. These look great.
Yeah, you sold yourself short.
Yeah, I used to do that stuff, Andrew, but now I hire my brother. Casey does that stuff for me now. If I need a new toilet, I'm like, Casey, how much?
I've got to learn. See, I'm going to be a dad soon for the first time. And I'm like, I got to at least do some. I have to learn a couple dad tricks. I don't need to fix everything, just like a couple of things so that I look really cool. That's the goal, at least. But yeah, Joshua Palmer, better than toilet.
Thank you. That's glowing review.
Yeah, it all comes full circle. Anyway, I also like Josh Palmer. I think he's in a really good situation. I like it. You want these guys in situations where it's like, oh crap, like they're the only receiver there and the quarterback's pretty good. And heck, I guess Steve thought the same thing because Steve raced. He sprinted to the show sheet whenever we had to make decisions. I think his words were, haha, Jesse beat you to it, because he picked Khalil Shakir, a known Jesse guy, as the next Nico Collins. Lost the name. Steven, why did you like Khalil Shakir so much?
Andrew, I about tripped sprinting to the computer to write Khalil Shakir on the show sheet because, I tried to trade for Khalil Shakir. Speaking of stacks, in our Dynasty League, I've got Josh Allen. And, long ago, last year, kept trying to get Shakir for like a little bit here, a little bit there. Jesse would reject every freaking trade offer I sent to him for Shakir. So now I'm going to take him in the way I can, which is he's my next Nico. So
Spite.
Look at Jesse.
I like it. Here's what happened with that. Here's what happened with that one is, and I know you guys have done this in Dynasty. I know this has happened to you before. You get trade offers from like 3 or 4 people at the same time. And you're like,
happening.
Okay, why is everybody liking Khalil Shakir so much right now? It's like I've always liked him, but where there's smoke, there's fire. You're kind of like, and yeah, I think it's a great situation now. I have always really liked Keon Coleman, but I do think he's raw enough. It's going to take some time. In that bottom 5 wide receiver ones, they listed Keon Coleman, but I don't know if he's going to be the wide receiver one for that team. I don't know if he's quite ready for that role. I think he's in a conversation for that, and he could come up in this same next Nico thing. But if we're looking for a guy that's kind of like Nico, that's, been in the league already and is about ready to take a leap forward, Shakir is an all-around great wide receiver. He does a lot of things really well, and I could see him really being that guy. And he's gotten rave reviews from the staff. The staff really likes him. He keeps popping up on articles and things like that. And then, everyone in the Dynasty is trying to trade for him. So it's like, I think you got to hold on to that one at that point.
You see what he just did?
Yeah.
He just stole my next Nico.
That's what you get.
He literally just got in there and like picked me off. I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Anything else?
Got anything you want to add to
next guy?
Yeah. So I have a few things that Jesse didn't mention. I'm going to say them now. First of all, he's got probably one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. He has 2 wide receivers that used to be on the team that left, Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs. The fact that I led with Gabe Davis there was kind of weird, but
weird.
Diggs and Gabe.
You're flustered, I get it.
141 available targets now in Buffalo. Shakir last year only played on 54% of the snaps. I think that we all would expect that to go up. He ranked 88th in snap share, but 62nd in receptions and 53rd in my screen's cut off here. Sorry. 53rd in yards. He ranked 53rd in yards, and then 35th in yards after the catch. So he was really efficient with the limited work he got. I don't know if I watched a lot of Bills games last year. There were times I thought he was Diggs. I thought he looked really good at times. He made a lot of big plays too. He also played a lot in the slot, about 70% of his snaps in the slot, and he ranked 13th in slot snaps. So he's going to get a lot of the easy stuff. The stuff that we see, Adam Thielen get last year, the stuff we've seen Amon-Ra St. Brown get in Detroit, just the easy. That's how you add up to, 9 catches a game when you get a lot of that easy stuff. I was looking over at Player Profiler's website. His target accuracy was number 1. So he's got that good quarterback throwing him the ball. The ball is going to be where it needs to be. He had a 1.93 yards per route run, which is pretty good. It ranked 33rd in the NFL. Anytime you're close to 2 yards per route run, that's pretty good. He ranked first in yards per target, and 14th in yards per reception. And when Josh Allen targeted Khalil Shakir, he had 133.6 quarterback rating, which ranked first in the NFL. He
Wow,
averaged
that is a great stat, because if you're a quarterback and you're throwing to a guy and it's efficient, he's making plays when you go his direction. There is, in your subconscious, that's where you're going to go. You know what I mean? So that is a great stat.
Well, and also the coaches are going to see that when the coaches are reviewing film, they're going to not only review film, they're also going to, look at the analytics behind it, and they're going to go, oh man, Josh is on fire when he throws Shakir's way. So not only that, there was a few other stats I had here. I think his 2.5 fantasy points per target ranked number 2 in the NFL. He was PFF's 29th highest graded wide receiver, ranking ahead of players like Zay Flowers, Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, and Cooper Kupp. Not necessarily saying he's better than those guys, but I'm just showing that he actually was really starting to blossom last year. His second season in the league was much better than Nico's was going into year 3. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to get excited about this guy. I can tell you he's going to be on a lot of my drafts, just like Nico was last year with some of my later picks.
So he's a reliable target. He plays in the slot, so he's going to get a lot of targets. And he is the only receiver on this team that was there last year.
That's a good point.
The rest of the depth chart is Keon Coleman, rookie. Curtis Samuel's new. Marquez Valdez-Scantling just signed. Chase Claypool's new. Matt Collins is new. KJ Hamler's new. Like it's just him and Dalton Kincaid. That's it.
Yeah, so I've been working on projections. I mentioned it every pod, and it's because it's so enlightening. And dude, I don't know. It's such a headache whenever you get to the Bills, because it's at the top of my thing alphabetically, and I have to deal with it. So it's just like I have to give everyone like somewhere between 15 and 20%, and I just don't know who's going to get it. Like, is Curtis Samuel going to be good this year? Like, no. Like, he'll be fine. Is Keon Coleman really going to be like a 20-something percent? Probably not. Is Dalton Kincaid? I don't know. Like, I'm just going to, like, Josh Allen's going to throw for 4,500 yards, and I don't know who it's going to go to, and it's going to be infuriating to guess. But I think you guys are onto it, because we're drafting him here as the wide receiver 54. Like, just throw the dart, because it's there. Like, don't go and draft the dude who's buried on, like, don't take, this is going to hurt my soul. Don't take A.D. Mitchell. Like, these guys are going in similar ranges. Take the dude who might be the wide receiver 1 for freaking Josh Allen. What are we doing? Yeah, so that's my random clue.
Yeah, I'm super excited about him. I'm sad I can't get him from Jesse and Dynasty anymore. I'm telling you, I'm gonna create a new sleeper profile, and I'm gonna join a Dynasty league with not people who are analysts, because it's just not as much fun. I gotta say, it's really hard to. I try to be, transparent about my feelings.
Losing's not fun, is what you're saying.
Well, and I try to be transparent about my my takes on players, and it makes it hard for me to be as successful in my leagues.
That sucks. So I'm about to just incriminate myself on a guy I really, really want, and that's Jackson Smith and Jigba. He is my next Nico. While you guys went absolute dumpster diving, and I commend you guys for it, I took a much easier route. This guy's going as the wide receiver 43, which is 15 spots higher than the guy that 11 spots higher than Steve's guy, and 15 spots higher than Jacob's guy, but it just made sense. Jackson Smith and Jigba, the biggest issue he's got going for him is he may be the third target. But, after you look past that, you just get past it and you're over it. I wanted to see some signal of upside, like not just situation, because the thing with Nico was on the terrible long neck Davis Mills Texans offense. He had a 1.7 yards per route run, which is 36th. And that's not incredible. That's not an incredible number. But when you're on the Houston Texans and you're doing that, that stands out. He had a 19% target share, too, did Nico Collins, in an offense that had Brandon Cooks. So I wanted to see some kind of standouty numbers like that. And like Jacob mentioned, change as well. Change. Friends, when you see change somewhere in an offense, that's the offense you want to attack for whatever reason. It creates ambiguity, just like the same reason we want to buy rookies. But for this exercise, we weren't really going rookies. You want ambiguity, you want change, and you want signs of upside with the new change. And that's what JSN showed last year. He garnered a 18% target share in an offense that included DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, like no slouches all around. And yes, I'm using Noah Fant in this particular exercise because it feeds my argument. No, I don't think he's actually that great. However, Nico Collins, like I said, Nico Collins was a similar target share to that. He only had 21% last year. So even if JSN doesn't go up that much in an offense that could be far more efficient in Ryan Grubb's new, what'll hopefully be his Washington Huskies offense of throw the ball downfield with 3 wide receivers out there, JSN is just as talented as any other wide receiver there. What happens if Tyler Lockett gets hurt, ages out? What happens if DK Metcalf, for whatever reason, we are fabricating rumors that DK Metcalf might get traded just because talk shows are bored right now? If that happens, JSN's probably the wide receiver 1. His biggest issue last year, and why he was so happy to see Shane Waldron gone, like he literally laughed when someone asked him what he thought about Shane Waldron leaving. He was 93rd in ADOT. He had an ADOT of 6.4. Only 96 receivers qualified for the amount of targets I was looking for. He was 93rd. So this guy was doing well in the routes we saw. It just, he wasn't getting offered much. Other signals of greatness, you hop on over to Matt Harmon's great work at reception perception, and he's in the 70th percentile in man and beating zone, 60th percentile in beating press, and his tree is lit up green. There's tons of signs of talent, tons of signs that just didn't get opportunity. New head coach, new offensive coordinator. What happens if receivers aren't there? Gentlemen, you have your new Nico, and it's Jackson Smith-Njigba.
I love the player. I think the only difference between the Nico thing is that there are those other big time targets that are still in that offense. So that's the only difference. What's funny is I thought really long and hard about making him my guy for this next segment. You know, we want to get into dynasty values next. Is that where we're going next?
Yeah, some dynasty buys.
I actually thought about JSN for that because I don't think that there's a ton of difference as far as like the player, the amount of impact that he could have on an NFL football team between JSN, who's pulling like 4,700 points on keep trade cut, and Garrett Wilson, who's pulling 6,700 points, almost 6,800 points. Like, they're very similar players, right? So what's the difference? Like, why is there such a wide gap there? And it is because there are some other options in Seattle, and we didn't really like the landing spot. But as you said, Andrew, the landscape could change anytime. So I don't know. I think he's extremely talented. I think he works in both segments, so I'm fine with it. But yeah, JSN, like, don't forget what a crazy great prospect that he was coming out because of the one bad season.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew, I'm gonna say something here, and I'm nervous because you guys have ripped me apart before for some of these comparisons.
Let me get a little sound drop ready. All right, go ahead.
Let me paint a picture that it feels like it could be JSN. Like you guys are worried about the competition, which I understand. He's got Tyler Lockett. He's got DK Metcalf there. Let's go back a few years to a Pittsburgh team that had Mike Wallace, Hines Ward, and Emmanuel Sanders in 2011. And a wide receiver who you guys may have heard of. He's gotten a little cuckoo since then, but Antonio Brown.
A little cuckoo. That's not that bad, dude. That is not that bad of a comp, to be honest with you. I mean,
it's not terrible.
He's flaw in these comps, and it's the quarterback play.
But the thing is, the quarterback play, yeah.
No. You keep going. I'm going to get that man later. I'm going to get that Jacob man later for saying that. You keep going.
No, but my point is, Antonio Brown was buried on this depth chart going into the 2011 season. He was a rookie in 2010, came in as a later pick. Emmanuel Sanders was the higher pick the year he came in. They're both playing behind Mike Wallace and Hines Ward. And Antonio Brown, that season, if I can get this to filter right, he finished with 195 PPR points. He only averaged about 13 points per game. So he didn't finish first in there, but he did surpass Hines Ward, which at that point, Hines Ward was kind of at the point in his career that we see Tyler Lockett at in his career. So I guess what I'm getting at is I could see Mike Wallace being the DK Metcalf to Antonio Brown. You know, like I could see JSN being that number 2 wide receiver this year and taking over Tyler Lockett.
JSN and Antonio Brown had a super similar statistical first season. That's actually kind of crazy. And I'm not saying he's going to be Antonio Brown, but that's just ominous. And how dare you, sir, smite the name of Geno Smith, the great man up in the Pacific Northwest. This is slander. This is ridiculous. This man is doing what he can out there to just get rid of the stink of Adam Gase and forego all of those problems. And he's out here in a bad offensive line, and he's trying his best. Geno Smith is better than Tua Tagovailoa, and you know it, Jacob.
No,
you know
not.
it.
Well, let me just give you this Antonio Brown stat line from that year.
Sure,
he had
yeah.
69 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
It's a nice amount.
I feel like that's a very doable stat line for JSN. We wouldn't be super excited for that, but I feel like that could be easily achieved and probably better than that stat line.
Yeah, he's got much different expectations than AB did, but looking at him from like a next Nico standpoint, Nico this time last year was wide receiver 66 in Dynasty, and now he's the wide receiver 19. JSN can definitely make a jump like that in Dynasty leagues.
All he needs to do is look somewhat legitimate, and his Dynasty value would do very well, I think.
Yeah, I think it took a hit, and I think that could come back. I think he's in a buy situation. And I do got to throw in one thing, Steven. You mentioned Emmanuel Sanders popped into my head. I've been coaching with Emmanuel Sanders and against Emmanuel Sanders in these 7-on-7 leagues that Will is in right now.
Why'd you wait to tell us now?
That is really cool.
Bury the lead, and why have I not been invited to one of these games?
No, it's been cool. And I told these guys before you jumped on, Will has been like super sick, and I was like, dude, we need you to go to the 7-on-7 game. And he caught 3 touchdowns, and one of the touchdowns, second play of the game, caught a 40-yard touchdown against Emmanuel Sanders tournament 7-on-7 team that he's put together at Will's age group, because that's how old his kid is.
You should have told him to go cough on every player on the other team too.
That's chemical warfare. That's a war crime, Steven. Everyone's got that on tape.
We did a shared practice with him, and I was out there just coaching alongside him for an entire practice.
I don't know Emmanuel Sanders, but I will say there's people I know that have seen Emmanuel Sanders like, oh, look at random person that I know on Instagram picture with Emmanuel Sanders. Like every time I've seen him in a bunch of pictures with like people I know, and every time I've asked them about him, they're like, oh, that guy is so cool. He's so nice. So,
he was really nice.
He does
a cool guy.
appear to be a really cool dude.
He's a great guy. The only thing that sticks in my head every time I think about him is that hit he took when he was diving on the sideline.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I might.
Well,
everyone knows the one.
The other one that's funny when you meet him is he always seemed like kind of like a thin, like not a huge guy, right? And I'm standing next to him like, this guy's gigantic, like it just shows you. I was a ways from the league, didn't quite make it there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm claiming your son's victory against Emmanuel Sanders for fantasy guides, and then combine that with us beating Des Bryant at the Expo last year. We're taking down NFL players.
There you go.
Point fantasy guides. Alrighty, moving us on to the next segment. It's a pretty similar idea, but something we incorporated a lot last offseason. We should probably get a little more of this offseason. It's just some dynasty buys. Some guys that we are buying in Dynasty think are a little bit undervalued that you could really scoop up and find yourself having like at least some value out of it, like gaining value in some sort of way. We're not saying maybe Kamani Vidal is going to be our RB1 for you, but Jesse sure as heck is saying he's a dynasty buy of some sort. So Jesse, firstly, tell everyone who the heck Kamani Vidal is, and then secondly, why is he a buy?
Well, he's rookie running back for the Chargers, and we were really interested to see which running back they would take in the draft, and they waited a long time. So they have faith in their other 2 guys they've added. But I think that this guy is still a great value at this point in Dynasty if you want to stash him. And if you're like me and you own those other Chargers running backs, he's a must stash for sure. He is the 3rd highest riser in keep trade cut right now of any player. It goes Ben Sinnott, Jermaine Burton, which we've touched on, and then Kamani Vidal. Really, really productive player at Troy, playing in the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt did not used to be a big time football conference, but they have gotten better and better and better. They keep adding great power programs from the FCS. And then those programs have been doing really well. App State, James Madison has been making headlines for a couple of years now. So the Sun Belt is actually a better conference than people think, and he dominated there. He's been doing really well. He helped push Troy to a Sun Belt championship a couple of years ago. So great player. I had him as a sleeper, and I think my only thing that I wrote down here is we may have already missed the buying window because, he's risen up like 1,900 points since being drafted by the Chargers. But great player. I like him, and I think that he could be a buy.
Yeah.
Jesse, I hate to put you on the spot. Are there any like guys, small school running backs that you can think of that could be like a comp who you could compare him to? I mean, I guess I could think of like an Austin Eckler was a really small school running back that turned into be
very different player. I mean, you're better at the usually we kind of get together. These are the calls we used to do over my lunch break, remember? Trying to figure out who these so he would be he's not tall. He's short, but he is
5'8", 215.
Yeah, he's square.
Ooh.
Super square and runs with power even as a little guy. So he's not in the Austin Eckler catching balls out of the backfield like the type of running backs I usually like. He's more of a short, powerful guy. So who would that be, Steven? Who would we?
Player profile has been compared to Isaiah Pacheco from a metric standpoint.
Oh, he was a 7th round pick. I mean,
I don't know if he has the same wheels, but he was actually more productive in college than Isaiah Pacheco. I'm still there's a miss for me. I did not think Isaiah Pacheco was going to be what he's turned into.
I'm wondering if he could be like a Raheem Mostert or something too. This like, I mean, he's obviously not as small as Mostert's, even smaller, but just one of these. I'm just thinking like super explosive dude.
I think he's more of a thumper though.
He is more compact for sure.
The guys you guys are listing off are kind of burners. He's not, and I know you think that everyone I bring up on the pod is a burner because I go to speed and sort generally, but he's not really a burner. He's
4.6. Yeah, he's not a burner. He's still definitely very athletic, but
yeah, no, I don't know. We can come up with a comp, but I think that he's cheap, and
I'm just scrolling trying to find a comp.
I'm trying to find one. It's like Tyjae Spears, but like at small school.
I did think
that's
Tyjae
not bad. Yeah, that's actually not bad.
I actually thought it before Andrew did. I just didn't.
No, but I said it first. Next Nico. I'm taking my credit where I can get it. Dang it. Moving us on, gonna give some credit to Jacob for finding what is really an interesting buy, and this guy will never get expensive no matter what. Darnell Mooney as a dynasty buy. Jacob, you're gonna have to explain yourself. Finds himself on the Falcons. Why is Darnell Mooney a buy?
Well, this is a buy low. Wide receiver 80 on Keep Trade Cut, and the wide receiver 68 on Underdog ADP right now. So you can get them dirt cheap. I mentioned this stat probably a couple months ago now, but Warren Sharp had a tweet and pointed out that nearly 40% of deep targets Darnell Mooney have been inaccurate in his career. Almost half. That's pretty rough.
Brutal.
Yeah. Over that span, though, the number one most accurate quarterback on deep targets was Kirk Cousins. So hopefully we see more connections there. I think Darnell Mooney can be a nice deep target. We've seen some success from him before. He's had a top 24 season, and that was in 21 when Fields had 10 starts and Andy Dalton had 6 and Nick Foles played a game. So he was the one in that offense. It's a little bit different, but that was also not a pass-heavy offense like we are kind of hoping the Falcons are going to be. He'll be that number one target on the outside. He ran a 4.38 40. Don't forget he's a fast guy. He had a really elite breakout speed coming into the NFL. It's just someone that I can see having like 80 plus targets in an offense that should be a lot better this year than they were last year. And that's something that could get him into that maybe low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3 range.
Somebody tell me, did the Falcons hire a competent OC that's actually going to try and get these? Because they got Rondale Moore, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson.
They've got Rondale Moore.
Yeah, like get the ball in the hands of these playmakers. Who is their OC now?
They went out and got Sean McVay's right-hand man, Zach Robinson, who I believe was QB coach for a long time, brought up to offensive coordinator last year.
Is this Zach Robinson, old Oklahoma State quarterback from way back? I gotta look now.
Well, that is where me and you come in handy, because I would have never guessed
you
that
guys,
one.
Your powers combined, man.
As he looks into that, I'll tell you a little bit about it. Like Darnell Mooney, I like it. Best ball. I'm never gonna try to start this guy. But
this guy was such a baller. He was such a baller in college.
Justin's got excited.
Sorry, Oklahoma State, 2005 through 2009. This guy was one of the original wearing a visor, badass quarterback.
I was gonna ask what his apparel looked like.
Yep, definitely had a visor. I think he's a Colorado kid. I want to say that he played high school ball in Colorado.
That's going to get Jesse even more excited.
Yeah,
he went to like School of Mines or something.
No, he's born in Littleton, Colorado, Steven.
That's where Jesse lives.
Yeah. Chatfield. He went to Chatfield High School. It's across the street.
This is literally like a mile from Jesse's house.
Yeah.
Jesse's a Falcons fan now.
All right, dude, I'm in. I'm all in. Darnell Mooney, buy it. I'm in.
Let me tell you why I'm in on it, because Darnell Mooney, this Sean McVay system, it has to have a Darnell Mooney in it. And it's going to get 15% of the target share, like guaranteed.
Yeah.
This is why Tutu Atwell was relevant. It's why Van Jefferson was relevant. It's why Bilal Powell was relevant in Minnesota, why KJ Osborne was relevant in Minnesota. They have to have one of these in the Sean McVay offense to take the top off, and they're going to get 15% of the target share. It's like always that number. So Darnell Mooney's going to catch himself some deep balls. They paid this man. I think he's getting close to $15 million a year or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they brought him in for a purpose.
Yep. And he's got the same value as guys like Jalen Hyatt, Mike Williams, and a late 2025 third. So,
and
cheap buy.
So he has to be, could he have come up in our other segment too? Like he has to be going pretty late in redraft too, doesn't he?
Oh, I don't
wide
think he's
receiver
that
68 and underdog.
He doesn't have a ceiling.
I'm in 68.
Now, I haven't seen any in shorts offseason highlights yet, so I'm a little bit.
No,
those are all Kyle Pitts focused in Atlanta.
But
he got up.
I haven't seen any in shorts.
Here's the other thing. I'm tending to. Here's all I need to know about this. I'm in because I just did a quick pulled up the old Sleeper app and did a search for Darnell Mooney, and Jacob actually doesn't have him on his roster, which usually
I have trades out for him right now.
When he's trying to promote a guy, I feel like he's trying to move that guy, or like cash out, but he doesn't even have Darnell Mooney. So the fact that he's pumping him up leads me to believe he's onto something here.
Yeah, I couldn't put Jerry Jeudy today. I had to do someone else.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Guys, he's going to rock number 1 next year for the Falcons, the single digit. And you know what? A significant upgrade from the number 1s that he had in Chicago where he was 11. You guys seen that font where it's just like a stick? There's that's a terrible font, Steven.
It's on the screen right now.
For who? For which team?
The Chicago Bears number 1. There's no top to it.
Check on the jersey, Steve.
Oh yeah, like the Justin Fields number. Yeah, it's
looks like Chicago a Roman
just
numeral.
Doesn't do things right. Like their jerseys, and what makes me mad is the Broncos picked the same blue for our blue. It's like Chicago blue, which I don't even know if it's a real color. It's like
Casey's
a mix
pissed.
of black and blue.
Choose a lane. What did he say? Pick a color.
Pick your lane.
Got to get these guys off jersey
Stay
talk.
in your lane.
Yeah. Blue or black? Pick a color.
Get these guys off jersey talk. Move on to our next buy low for the folks at home, and this is one that I honestly also agree with. I really like this guy. I know AJ really likes this guy too. Steven apparently likes this guy. Dude, rookie got a lot of hype from us last offseason in New Orleans, down in New Orleans. Kendre Miller, Steven, why is he a buy low in Dynasty?
Well, I did try to send a few trade offers out for him before we started the podcast.
I've already sent a bunch.
And see, this is the Jesse thing. That's why I can't get Shakir. Yeah, you sent him the same trade offers, and he's like, somebody's on to something here. So the reason I brought him up, we all liked him last year, but we knew the landing spot wasn't great as far as like immediate production, but we knew that. So we knew he was kind of a draft and hold guy. Well, keep holding or try to get him from the impatient owner who already forgot that, because there's a real chance that Alvin Kamara could get traded prior to June 2nd. I don't see it happening. I just don't know who would be looking to trade for Kamara, but you never know. The Saints are barely under the salary cap, which usually they're just way over the salary cap. Regardless, the Saints are always right at the salary cap. They're always
because they have to be. They're right under it because they have to be.
Yeah, they are always. I don't know. That team is always just mortgaging for like the future. They don't care. They're just like spending money like crazy. But it would free up nearly $12 million if they did move him. Again, I don't see it happening this year. However, I feel like this could be another Zeke situation from 2023 when Zeke had the huge contract that was way too big for an aging running back. Kamara's base salary jumps from $10 million this season to $22 million next season. And yeah, there's going to be some dead cap there, but they're going to save a ton of money. I think they're going to save something like $18 million if they cut him next year, I believe prior to June 2nd or June 1st or however it works. So I feel like this could be another Zeke situation like we saw when he went over to the Patriots, where we were all very high on Tony Pollard. So I feel like Kendre Miller could be in that same situation. We got to remember he was an early draft pick. He was an early 3rd round pick last year. So good draft capital for him. He was a good back at TCU. He's a well-rounded back. He's got good size. He can, run, he can catch. And he's also, here's the part I also love, and this is good for Dynasty because people pay attention to this stuff in Dynasty and it can give a guy a lot of value. He's still just 21 years old. So he doesn't even turn 22 until next month. He's younger than, I believe he was the youngest running back in last year's draft class.
Yeah.
And he's younger than most of the running backs coming out this year. So it may not quite happen for him yet this year. I still think he's going to he basically redshirted last year. He was injured for part of the season, but I do think he gets more work this year. Kamara's going into his age 29 season, so there's a good chance he could either be playing a lot less snaps. He could get injured. So I think he's going to get work there, but definitely next year, I don't see any situation where he doesn't be the main guy in the backfield.
Yeah. To your Kamara point of getting cut next year in 2025, Derek Carr's cap hit goes from 12.6 to 51.4. They are going to have to lose some cap space somewhere.
Before we go any further, we got to play a game. All right, the game is called, and Jacob, don't look. The game is called How Much Cap Space Does the Saints Have in 2025 before they tried to play double magic? All right, Jesse, you get the first guess. Cap space 2025.
This is why I go to you guys for that. I'm going to just add one point with the Kendre Miller thing. Is he also was injured, and people forget that he was coming off of a pretty significant injury at the end of his career at TCU. So he needed some time to get better, and we told you to be patient with this player, but that we really liked him. He could do everything for TCU. He would line up out wide and run slants, and like he can kind of be that next Alvin Kamara for them. So just adding in, I like that. But yeah, no, do your salary cap thing with Jacob. I don't know salary cap stuff. That's game. Rhodes do that.
Play my game. Play my game.
Well, Jesse, and the fact that you're able to overlook his Axiom helmet and still be excited about
I'm not a fan. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But we'll look past it in this one instance.
All right, Andrew, I'm gonna guess.
Good.
Their cap space in 2025. You said
yes. Next off season.
I'm gonna guess they are 85 million over.
All right, Jacob.
You're close. No,
Jacob, do you know it?
I looked. Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I looked while Jesse was talking. I couldn't help it. I had
literally
told you not to look. Oh my! You deserve that. They are negative $98 million in cap space. 98 million.
Guarantee, like Kamara won't be there next. There's no way
that happen.
Derek
what was
Carr
the contract that messed that up?
51.4 million cap hit.
It's because they just get like void years, and it's the biggest cap hits are Derek Carr. Let me pull
Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, and then Alvin Kamara's fourth, and they're
paying.
They're paying Taysom Hill to play like a few snaps here and there, and he's getting backup quarterback money
on the team.
$11 million. Yeah.
They're paying. I mean, Taysom Hill, I like him, but there's that you can't tell me from an analytical standpoint what he's getting paid makes any sense.
He's the most fun best ball tight end of all time.
Yeah. Just for those rare weeks he plays quarterback and gets 30 points.
He's another one of my totally untradeable players up there with Khalil Shakir. You cannot trade me for Taysom Hill. He will die on Team Devy rookie watch.
This is why I want Derek Carr so bad in my dynasty team. Like, they can't not play him. Well, I guess but Spencer Rattler might say something about that, but it's insane. The Saints, you are irresponsible, and I kind of love it.
You know what they have to do? They got to go full Russell Wilson and just pull off the Band-Aid and be made fun of for a season or two about how big their dead cap space is. But at some point, you got to do it.
He isn't out in 2026.
And Derek Carr he's like Russell Wilson. It's not like have him there and he's a good personality. He'll teach guys. No, he's weird. Like, you don't want Derek Carr in the room. Spencer Rattler is going to bully Derek Carr out of New Orleans. It's going to be awesome.
No, careful. That's not happening. Jake Hayner is actually listed ahead of Spencer Rattler on the depth chart right now. So
I'm not saying
Spencer Rattler's got to get past Jake Hayner first.
I'm not saying he's going to outplay him. It's just like verbally berate him.
I think Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints next year. There's my bold prediction.
Nice hot take. Anyways, Steve, I like the Kendre Miller pick. It was good.
Right. That's a good one. Good one.
Big fan.
Another guy won't be able to buy low on.
Well, you guys, I commend you. Like, absolutely incredible dumpster diving. I love it. I went a more expensive buy myself. Of course, I'm big money buying, and I got to type at wide receiver. It is big. It is crazy. And
I did not expect George Pickens.
Oh boy, it's George Pickens. This is a dude that the second I saw him place an NFL snap, I was like, he's just different. This dude is different mentally. Like, my favorite thing is when he was at Georgia, like, was to take a bunch of run plays off. so that the corner would know, like, if it's a run play, you know, nothing's going to happen, and then randomly go up to him and push him down when he's not expecting it. I freaking love it. George Pickens is my buy because he was a wide receiver 27 last year, and he had competition like Deontay Johnson there. And now this year, the second wide receiver is Roman Wilson, who's good, but that's a rookie who's going to have to learn the system. And Arthur Smith is there. Arthur Smith's going to target just one or two guys in the offense, and it's not going to be a high volume offense, but it's just George Pickens. And we could think back to Arthur Smith quarterbacks. Shoot, you guys saw Russell Wilson last year throw 27 touchdowns in Denver. Russell Wilson's better than what Desmond Ridder was. Justin Fields made DJ Moore a wide receiver 1. George Pickens could absolutely go off. He had 63 catches, 1,140 yards, and 5 touchdowns is what held him back last year. Get him a couple more receptions, a couple more touchdowns. Boom. He's a wide receiver 2 already paying off value. Play another game, friends. Kenny Pickett started the majority of the games that George Pickens was around for in Pittsburgh. How many touchdowns, how many interceptions in 25 games do you think Mr. Kenny Pickett had? Jacob, because you cheated last time, you have to go first this time.
How
many touchdowns, how many interceptions?
Goodness, I don't even know. 18 touchdowns and 17 interceptions.
Steven.
Pickett last season?
No, both seasons, 25 games.
I feel like he had like 12 in his rookie year. I'm going to say he's got 26 and 24.
Yeah, I went last year. It's got to be 1-1 close. Go ahead, Jesse.
Jesse?
$1.
$1. Jesse was the closest. He had in his career 13 touchdowns.
I was going to say 10. I was going to say 10 and 15.
Wait. What?
Yeah, I was going to say 10 and 15 is what I was going to say.
Career. Let me go double check it. He had 6 one year and 7 the other, if I'm remembering off the dome correctly.
and I
he told you he would suck out.
I hate Kenny Pickett. I'm so mad that I boosted his numbers so horribly.
20-something. Wow,
yeah,
Steve.
Geez,
Yeah.
Steve likes him.
I thought he had like
was it Deontay Johnson catching all those touchdowns, Steven? Do you remember his staggering touchdown reception number?
Oh, that's a good point. He had 0.
He had zero touchdowns for Deontay Johnson.
Rudolph came in and looked really freaking good in this offense. The guy who got his head beat in with a helmet almost.
Yeah, he did.
You know, this is one of those situations. I'm kind of mad because I drafted George Pickens at his rookie year, and I'm like, why don't I have him anymore? So I had to go look and see. It was because I got Jesse. I traded him to you in a big trade where I ended up getting Jamar Chase. So it's like one of those things where I'm glad I have Jamar Chase, but I wish I had Pickens too. Still,
Yeah.
And you just watch him play football. He is so clearly good at it. As long as he doesn't go out and do something stupid off the field, on the field, he is just magical.
Stereotypical
Andrew
rolling receiver right there.
Rolling the dice with the diva again. I love it.
It's incredible. If he can just get like 10 routes a game where he doesn't have to catch a back shoulder fade, go watch the routes. It's on YouTube. It's great. There's some great cut-ups on YouTube, by the way. Just type in this guy every target on YouTube. You're going to find great stuff, and you'll see George Pickens catch 100 targets or get 100 targets of all back shoulder fade. So, yeah, that's the last guy I had there.
I think that's a decent buy because there are several guys above him that people are kind of going off of, the maybe they turn into the guy. And I think this guy could be is the guy. He is the guy for them.
He's definitely the guy there.
Because it's like Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, they're going to be sharing a lot of targets, a lot of these guys above them. So yeah, I think that he's going as the wide receiver 27. You said he finished as the wide receiver 27. I think
last year
could definitely, with terrible quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't rub Mason Rudolph's name through the dirt like that ever again. Okay, Jesse.
Oh, Mason Rudolph. He's so bad.
Well, and let's not, they call Ohio State wide receiver U or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Steelers in the NFL, they just know how to draft wide receivers. These guys now, they all seem to have a little bit of diva mentality. They do have a type as far as a little bit off on that spectrum, but these guys always produce. So he's just that next guy. I like it. I think he's going to be good.
Man, I love me a little crazy. You got to be a little bit crazy to be a great wide receiver. None of them are normal. I think the saying is, to be a great player, you either have to think you're God or believe in God, one way or the other. And I absolutely believe in this. So any guys you had last second with the time dwindling who was like, I really almost thought this guy was a good buy, or you were gonna save him for next time?
Well, I'll get one. I'm also trying to get, which I won't be able to get him. I think a great buy right now is Michael Penix Jr. I think.
Oh, stop! Don't say that. No,
I
you're gonna
It's
think
a
trade
nice
from
4-year hold right there.
I think you need to do it now, because we don't know Kirk Cousins with the Achilles. We don't know what he's going to come back looking like. We don't know if he could get injured again with that. He's not young. He's an older quarterback. If Penix ends up just being so good, it's like, remember years ago when the Seattle Seahawks signed, I don't even remember his name. It was before Russell. It was the year Russell Wilson got drafted. Matt Flynn. Thank you. Now, of course, we know way more about Kirk Cousins. We've got a full body of work from him, but if at some point he starts to struggle, or he starts to look old, or he just doesn't look like he can get it done like he used to, don't be surprised if Michael Penix Jr. starts quicker than we're thinking. He's going to have a loaded roster, and he's only going to get more. His value won't go. It'll only go up from here on out. A lot of times these guys sit, their value goes down. We got to remember he was the 8th overall pick. Like, they're going to use him at some point. And if you've got room, you got a loaded dynasty roster, especially in Superflex. If you can get this guy and sit him on your roster, I think he'd be a good one.
Yeah,
I saw him on Instagram throw like a 6-yard hitch to another rookie wide receiver, and it just bounced right off his hands.
Was it?
And then I just read the like 75 comments below that said number 4 is cut. It's like literally a hitch route that an NFL player can't catch. I had one other one for you, Andrew. Jalen Polk. Who is he competing with in New England for targets?
Javon Baker, the guy who can make people in wheelchairs stand up.
Juju Smith-Schuster is still there.
Go look at that depth chart and see if anybody scares you away, and then go look at the draft capital and then kind of do the math. And it's like, I think that he could be this year's Jaden Reed. He's a guy like Jaden Reed was not a guy that I was like super, super high on. But as I looked at that wide receiver room, I was like, there's going to be opportunity there. And then I went back and I watched a bunch of film on him and actually started to love him kind of after the draft. I think Jalen Polk is a little bit like that. He has a giant catch radius, makes a ton of really difficult catches. And that's going to be good for that offense. They need somebody that has a catch radius that's going to come down with some 50-50 balls. So I think he's a guy that we could see his stock going up. Yeah.
And if you're a win now team, I like Devin Singletary as a little buy. He's got a 5th round running back he's competing with that just came in. They signed him to a 3-year deal. So I think they're going to lean on him a bit in that running game.
No, not if Devin Singletary's gonna have to wear those Giants uniforms we saw. Not if he's in those.
Oh God, no, that's a fitting uniform for him. Sometimes you just have to throw the white flag at players, and I've thrown the white flag at Devin Singletary. I never was excited about that guy, but every time I think, oh well, like Dameon Pierce only has to compete with Devin Singletary, and then here comes Singletary like taking over the backfield, and I think the same thing happened in Buffalo, and it's just like at a certain point you're like, all right, well.
We stand on business here for Devin Singletary. Every time his name is mentioned, I have to offer him grace. I have to offer him praise. I will never do it again. Devin Singletary is a great running back.
Yep.
Well, we will end on the Devin Singletary note then and get us out of here. Thanks for listening, tuning into this episode of the podcast. As always, it's a great time. We will explore more people, more things. Jesse's throwing out great ideas every pod, and then I'll properly name them later and take all the credit for it. That's always the plan. And if you want to see some stuff that Jesse's posting, head on over to @DebbieRookieWatch. Did I actually get that right that time?
Thumbs up.
Yeah. And then, of course, go to the main page @FantasyGuides or FantasyGuides.com or play Underdog and use the code GUIDES to get yourself a draft guide that we're working really hard on. We have these big player write-ups. We have all the stats you could ever possibly need. Shoot, you want to know if a guy's going to play a lot of games inside or outside? It's there. Why do you need it? Because you do. Also follow Jacob at FGRoadsFF. I don't know how I remember that every time, but I do. Give us all a follow, like, subscribe, share with a friend, get out there, have fun. And gentlemen, say goodbye to the friends at home.
Peace.
Bye, friends.
Peace.